Institute of Technology, Roper, to please join the ceremony. I kindly request the dignitaries to take their respective seats amongst the audience. In order to start the proceedings of the day, may I now invite Professor Rajiv Ahuja, Director of Indian Institute of Technology, to deliver the welcome address. Sir, kindly join me on the dais.
So, welcome to everyone. And for some of you, maybe this is a first visit in India. So I will start, because you are in Punjab, so I will start with Sat Sri Akal, Namaste, and good morning. Brothers and sisters from the different part of the globe, I welcome you all on the behalf of IIT Roper to Amritsar, Punjab, and the land of the 5 rivers, the golden land of the spiritual and the cultural relevance, for the second Education Working Group meeting, which is scheduled to be for 15th to 17th of March. We shall have inputs from the different nations during the regular session on research initiative in the G20 countries. Panel discussion on research in emerging disruptive technologies, Industry 4.0, research in sustainable development goals, discussion on strengthening the research and promoting the innovation through the research collaboration and building the capacities, promoting the lifelong learning in the context of the future of work, and shall discuss on ensuring the fundamental literacy and numeracy, especially in the context of the blended learning. This G20 second edition of Working Group meeting has given us unique opportunity for all of us to understand the best practices and the challenges while discussing on research innovation through collaboration, so that we can work together looking forward, going out with very effective solutions, which will include the best of the practices being practiced by various countries. We have been given a very serious and relevant topic to address during the meeting to empower new age of learners through the tech transformation in the education and exploring the practical strategy to create a robust skill ecosystem. This meeting will help in ensuring a roadmap for multi-partner collaborations to facilitate accessibility and provision of research materials, reducing the gap between industry and academia, thereby discovering and identifying the relevant policies and practices for research and innovation. This way would lead to establish a long-lasting collaborations for equitable quality research in G20 member nations while following the theme Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, and one future. The G20 countries possesses various degree of expertise, materials, financial resources. These assets and the knowledge can be pooled to address current and the future issues at Amritsar. Soon to reach 1.4 billion of the population, 50% of the whom are the under 30 years of age, India has just surpassed China as the world's most populous country. It should rank second among G20 economies in the terms of the growth from 2022 to 2023. The stage at Amritsar is all set to focus on the field of the future, such as the quantum technology, advanced communication technology, and the digital transformation, with Indian research being particularly effective in mathematics and the computer science. The country notably set itself the goal of becoming a 1 trillion digital
in education, AI research and education, and so on. Oman, another special invitee, they have looked at strategic research programs, research centers program, Oman Innovates program, and Oman Virtual Science Library. I won't go through the entire list. So they have many initiatives which will enable research and innovation in these emerging and disruptive areas. And Indonesia has been strengthening connections. This is for global synergy goals. So they have been strengthening connections which will allow greater collaboration, and they have been creating interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research partnerships between countries, and they have also been broadening research perspective and research fields to deliver high impact research output. Netherlands has been focusing on industry innovation, peace, justice, strong institutions, and so on. Australia, coming to academic collaborations, so Australia has joint degree programs, joint research projects, student and faculty exchanges, and so on. Indonesia again has joint degree programs. As you can see, that's a very common theme across countries, joint research projects. Russia has again joint dual degree programs. And UK has this university partnerships through Global Challenges Research Fund, the Newton Fund, and the International Science Partnerships Fund. And Turkey has joint degree programs again and exchange programs. UAE has similar things. And South Africa again, as they have 11 universities participating in the BRICS network in cluster areas of interest, all these emerging and critical areas. And they also have a framework for internationalization of higher education. And for collaborations with foreign partners, again, Russia has collaborations with BRICS and other countries. Netherlands works with foreign partners at all levels and fosters exchanges of researchers and institutions within and outside the EU. UK has, I've already told about this R&D program, funding in low and middle income countries and so on. And South Africa has collaborations with UK and USA. How about other initiatives? UK has promotion for open science. Saudi Arabia has research and innovation partnerships and initiative to promote collaborations between universities and industries. South Africa has university capacity building program and grants. So there are multiple initiatives across the G20 countries, but it's very important to pull them all together and come up with some common initiatives which will benefit all the countries. And again, Netherlands has this open science ecosystem, and the governments bear the responsibility to safeguard necessary conditions such as academic freedom, etc. And Australia looks at adaptability of legacy equipment and curation of meaningful data, its analysis and the protection. So I've talked about all these issues earlier. So now let me conclude with a few, 2 more slides. So what is the way forward? We need to advance research jointly on disruptive technologies, and this has to be done on a war footing, given that the climate change won't wait for us. We need to step up and do these quickly. We also need to strengthen and scale up collaborations between institutions, government, and industry. We need to promote philanthropy as a tool for promoting international collaborations, and use G20 as a platform to facilitate and monitor progress. So we could have annual G20 conferences on specific research themes in these disruptive areas and see what progress has been made, what are the collaborations that have worked, and use these as templates to foster many more collaborations. So let me end with some closing remarks. Even though I talked about technology bringing us all together and making us much closer and a united world, but there are also challenges. In recent times, global crises have fragmented the world, and they have raised human-made barriers in addition to the natural boundaries. But the water, the air we breathe and the water we drink do not respect these barriers. The rivers that originate in one country flow through multiple other countries before they join the sea, and the seas and the oceans they are part of touch each and every continent. The satellites that we employ float in the space, in the shared space that we all the countries of the world share, the outer space. So if we have to tackle this recent pandemic, alarming rapid changes in climate, etc., it is very clear that we need to increase the circumference of our interests beyond our narrow geographical boundaries. And this need not be for altruistic reasons. It's for just for out of self-interest, a national interest of the countries we should collaborate. As COVID has demonstrated, no one is safe until everyone is safe. So we cannot just say that, oh, that's a problem for that country, let me not worry about it. Each of these problems has become a global problem. A pollution in one country affects pollution in other countries. So water affects all of us, everything affects all of us. So all this leads to the underlying theme of this whole G20 meetings this year, which is Vasudhaiva Kudumpakam, which is one earth, one family, one future. So we are all in it together. And I would argue that the best way for us to collaborate, to come together, is through collaborative research. Collaborative research, I would argue, is probably the least controversial of any collaboration that you can undertake. And so that is most easy to enable among countries, because academicians and others are already collaborating, and industries have multinational research centers across multiple countries. So this is a natural area for countries to collaborate with the least friction. So I would again strongly argue that collaborative research among G20 countries is the way forward for us to solve the existential crisis that faces us, and to come up with solutions for the Sustainable Development Goals, and also see the way forward for disruptive technologies and so on. Thank you.
Sir, I would kindly request you to stay back. Thank you for such great inputs and insights. I now invite Professor Rajiv Ahuja, Director of IIT Ropar, to felicitate Professor Govindan Rangarajan. Sir. Go that side. Thank you, sir. Moving on, as our first keynote speaker, I may now invite Professor B.S. Murthy, Director, Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to all my friends from various countries coming together so that we can work together and collaborate together. Professor Rangarajan pointed out, and I'm going to stress a little more in the same direction, that it's only possible to solve all our problems only when we all work together. This is one thing that I am sure all of you would agree, that collaborations bring synergy, which can make 1 + 1 significantly greater than 2. And that is possible through a lot of us working together. As Professor Rangarajan pointed out, that one country's problem can be a problem from many other countries also. So it's important that we start working together, and it's already happening. Quite a number of Indian institutions have been working with a number of institutions outside India and trying to look at a number of SDG goals and trying to arrive at solutions to the problems of our sustainable goals. So it's apt that in this kind of a forum, we talk about the power of collaboration. In science and technology is what I have put it, but in general, even in education, it's important that there is a lot of possibilities of collaborations. Many of us are collaborating on joint programs and also exchanges, but it is also important that we strengthen this more and more and ensure that we all work together towards one single goal of making the whole world much better than what it is today. So when we talk of collaboration, basically we talk about the government, the academia and the industry, and of course international. For every country, I think all these three become very important, and they have been working together to ensure that we find solutions to our problems, and we need to extend this more to see how we can ensure that we find solutions to our problems. A lot of work has been happening, and some of those I would like to show you as we go along. One very important, I think, path-breaking change, or I would say reforms, that have been brought out in India in recent times is the education, what is called a new education policy, which has been bringing a lot of people together and strengthening collaborations. For example, there are a number of programs that are being followed by a number of institutions in India now, where you tie up with other institutions, you tie up with industries, and so on and so forth, to come up with human resources for the future of the country. For example, I can just give you two examples from IIT Hyderabad itself. We have, by tying up with a number of hospitals in Hyderabad, we started a program, a master's program called Medical Device Innovation, where the student spends 4 months in a hospital, comes out, identifies a number of problems of patients and doctors, picks up one of them. At the end of 2-year program, the student is ready with a prototype. Similarly, with a very famous eye hospital called LV Prasad, we have a master's program called Ophthalmic Engineering, MTech in Ophthalmic Engineering, where the doctors teach the anatomy of the eye, the faculty of IIT Hyderabad teach the lasers, the optics, and the technology for eye care, so that you are creating human resources for the future eye care technologies. Similarly, with a central lab called CMET, we have an MTech program which is called the e-waste management, which is one of the very recent problems that all of us are facing. So we need to create people who can handle this. So like that, there are a number of such innovative collaborations that are happening thanks to the NEP that has brought in a lot of funding is being put by the government towards such kind of working together. A number of institutions, we have about 23 IITs in India, 31 NITs, and a large number of other institutions which are under what is called AICTE. All of them are now coming together and trying to see how we can solve the problems. For example, India is now talking about putting a lot of money in creating fab facilities in the semiconductor. We have come up together by discussing with a large number of institutions a new undergraduate program called IC Design and Technology, which now AICTE is trying to implement. IIT Hyderabad has already implemented, and the AICTE is now trying to implement in every college, so that in 5 years down the line, you have a few thousand students who are ready to tackle these fab facilities that are going to come up. So there is a lot of scope and a lot of possibilities that this NEP has thrown open to all of us, and it is, I would say, one of the best things that have ever happened to India. Of course, there are a number of schemes the government is coming up with in the area of education and collaborations. But in the higher education scheme, that I can tell you, a number of programs which are helping students at all levels, starting from the undergraduate level to a PhD and a postdoctoral fellowships, so that you can start working together. One such example that I can just mention of a great success story of collaboration is the space program. And in that, a large number of institutions have worked together with what is called ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, and brought out wonderful missions. One of the recent mission is a Mars mission, which all of you are aware of, that something which has been able to happen with very little funding and within a very short span of about just 15 months, that India has been able to demonstrate this. This is thanks to the power of collaborations, I would say. So there are numerous examples like this. I'm just throwing one single example, and this kind of examples are there all around us, and it is important that we have to come together to increase the number of such very wonderful examples. So a number of schemes that Indian government is coming up, and one of those I would like to say is a program called Imprint and a UAY, Uchchatar Avishkar Yojana, where government is bringing the educational institutions and industries to work together so that you can minister is Atmanirbhar Bharat, India with wonderful products. In fact, I had one such program where we have been able to develop the first, what is called, we call it as gas atomizer, producing very high quality metal powders, which has never happened before. If this kind of a program was not there, this kind of products would not have been come up. And a number of other schemes. Startup India is one such thing, which is very, very picking up in a big way, and most of the institutions in the country are tying up with industries to work in that particular direction. And I would like to possibly mention a little more on that. So, and this is something which is helping the skill development in a big way in the country. And in the years to come, people are talking about generating students who are not job seekers but job creators. I can just give you a small example from a small institution which is just about 14 years old, IIT Hyderabad. In the last 4 years, we have more than 125 startups which have created more than 1,000 jobs and created about 800 crores, about $100 million worth of revenue just in 4 years. Thanks to this kind of support, the Indian government is trying to push the startups in a big way so that you start generating people who are more innovators in their thought process. And a lot of innovative ideas are being put by various institutions in this particular area to ensure that we create people who are going to sustain the Atmanirbhar Bharat that we all talk about, and also possibility of working together with institutions. We have a number of startups that we are trying to develop with other countries, with Japan and other countries, and this is something which is a wonderful way of working together. Another area which Professor Rangarajan also just pointed out, India is trying to now talk about sharing resources. Okay? There is a portal that has been generated called iSTEM by Principal Scientific Advisor of Government of India, where people who have facilities, they put it on that portal and allow everybody in the country to use it. Possibly this can be even extended to overseas and to see how we can work together and utilize the facilities together. Just to give you a small example, by last month, we have put almost 480 equipment of IIT Hyderabad on this particular portal, and which are accessible to anybody in the country. And this is something which is being done by every institution in the country to start seeing how we can work together, share resources together. Of course, pandemic has its own problems, but it has given a lot of chance for people to work together, collaborate together. For example, if we can just talk about the vaccine that has been developed in the country for the COVID vaccine, which is now has gone to a number of other countries too. It has been a fruit of very strong collaborations that have happened. Collaborations even at the level of common people who came forward and said, please use me as a possible subject to test your vaccine. To that level, people have started working together and ensure that the pandemic can be crossed by all of us. When there is a strong will, there is always a way forward. So that's something that we have been able to do. And in that direction, we have also been able to utilize this opportunity to also reach out to people much more easily. For example, education has completely got changed thanks to COVID. We have moved into online education in a big way. All of you are aware of. So people are able to reach out to students who are at various corners of the whole world. For example, we have been able to start a number of online master's programs to help working professionals who are not able to take leave and come to an education institution to get an additional degree. Most of the universities in India have started this. In fact, from this August at IIT Hyderabad, we are starting to open up every course of ours to anybody in the world. We are converting every classroom to a hybrid classroom, and this kind of a exercise is happening in every university. And these are ways by which we can educate people and become knowledge givers to the whole world. And every one of us sitting here have the capability of doing so. And this is a capability which we have learned from the COVID, and I would say COVID has taught us a lot in this process. 5G is another area where there is, again, a collaboration, a strong collaboration has led to the first 5G NB-IoT chip that has come out of strong collaboration between IIT Bombay, IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad, IIT Delhi, and a number of other institutions. So this is another very strong example of it. And now people have already started moving into 6G and helping the whole country grow in a big way in the area of the remote connectivity in a big way. So another area which we have also started, I think somehow I missed one. I don't know. So one slide got left out. Anyway, so that's another thing. I just put it as glue grand, but I don't know how this has missed out. And this is another where Ministry of Education is coming forward to connect various institutions and labs, R&D labs in a particular city to work together on grand challenges, so that while so far people have been working in silos, people are now coming together to work and ensure that the grand challenges, which are many a times grand challenges, not just for one country, but for a number of countries together, can be solved when you start working together. A concept of multiversity is something being invoked in this particular context, and people are coming together and trying to solve. So another, very recently, for the first time, all the IITs, 23 IITs have come together to demonstrate the technologies that they have developed, to ensure that they come very close to the industry and work together to take technologies that are being developed at the TRL level 1 to 3 in an academic institution to a much greater level by the industry support. And this is again a very strong collaboration possibilities, and this has been demonstrated very recently in the month of October at IIT Delhi by all these 23 IITs coming together and demonstrating their technologies. There are a number of agencies in the government which bring all of us together to work together, starting from the Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Education, and Biotechnology, and MIT, and a number of other institutions. And a lot of work is happening in that direction. The last but not the least, I would like to say, as a part of the G20, we have taken recently a very good initiative on trying to bring the students of various colleges to start thinking about the G20 and the G20 initiatives and the problems of global relevance, and start thinking about it. This is a program where almost 50,000 colleges in the country are, almost every college that is there in the country is going to be touched, and the students of those countries are going to be invited to participate in creating a document which can be used at the G20 summit, where they can talk about the possibilities of finding solutions to global problems from the students' perspective. And this is, again, a very innovative idea that Ministry of Education has come up with, and we are working on that very soon. This is going to be announced, and we are going to, next 3 months, we are going to come up with a wonderful document as a part of the G20 initiatives. I think with that, I would like to stop here to say that let's work together. As Professor Rangarajan also pointed out, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the whole universe is one family. Let's all work like one single family to ensure that we solve the problems of all of us together and find ways and means by which we will be able to help each other to solve the problems and be able to have a world which is significantly better than what our generation has. For the future generations, we should be able to live a wonderful world in the near future. With that, thank you very much, friends. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. I request you to stay back, sir. I request you to kindly stay back. I also invite Professor Rajiv Ahuja to... Thank you, sir. For our second keynote of the day, let me invite Mr. Borhen Chauhan, Director, UNESCO, who will be talking about the SDG 17 and the importance of global cooperation in achieving the goals. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Namaste and Sat Sri Akal to all. Very good morning to all of you. Thanks to the eminent professor who just spoke. I'm getting a bit unfair competition. We had very inspiring and very rich presentation, but I hope I will be able to build on what you just shared and what the professor has presented earlier. I would like to focus on the SDGs, and before that, maybe I would like to ask a question. Who believes that we'll be achieving the 2030 agenda by 2030? Can you raise your hand? Who believes we'll achieve them by 2030? But in particular, I would like to build on what professors have mentioned. What could be an inspiring example for us in terms of the collaboration? What are the experience that we have and how this can be supporting the G20 collaboration in this year and beyond? But also, I would like to refer to some international recommendation and normative instrument that we look at the SDGs and the collaboration around the SDGs, that we take the system as a system and not take it as a silos or as this fragmented approach. SDG 17 is about collaboration and partnership to achieve all the SDGs. And there are a set of targets that are mentioned. I picked a few of them where the collaboration on science and technology is mentioned, where the collaboration between different countries and across countries is mentioned. But of course, what is important is that we take all the aspect of the targets as they are presented in the Education 2030 and in the SDGs 2030 as well. So I would like to give some examples of how the G20 could collaborate. For example, we have a group of experts of universities can contribute to addressing the SDGs and how they can work together across countries and across universities. And they have, with the support of UNESCO, they have produced a report that is called Knowledge-Driven Action, Transforming Higher Education for Global Sustainability. And it's about the role of higher education in addressing the SDGs and in investing in research, in academic work, but also in the societal engagement that the university has to play as well. So this is type of collaboration that could be envisaged. And I think the director mentioned that earlier, how the G20 universities can come together and collaborate and create a platform for engagement. The two professors mentioned also the challenge that we are facing in terms of the interdisciplinary and intradisciplinary collaboration. And the report that was published refers to three major aspects that we have to address. The first one is how we move towards this inter and intradisciplinary approaches. The second is how we can open institutions to the societies, to industry, to a collaboration and the way we diversify the access to knowledge. And the third is how we can ensure that society is involved in the discussion on what are the demand for research, the knowledge that is required. So these three aspects have been highlighted by this research collaboration that I mentioned earlier. We have also an instrument and a platform that can be leveraged to support G20 collaborations. The UNESCO chairs a UNITWIN. This is a group of universities that have decided to advance SDGs in different areas. And we have today more than let me just, we have more than 950 UNESCO chairs across the world. And we have, that covers more than 110 countries. This is a powerful platform for collaboration, including for the G20, that can be leveraged. But we have noted that the focus that they have on SDGs is rather unequal or uneven. There is a lot of focus on SDG 4, on SDG 11, 15, 16, but less so on the others. And the question that we have to ask is, as I mentioned earlier, the SDGs are a system. If we don't advance each of the goals, we will not be able to advance all the 2030 agenda. So this collaboration and the impact that we can have is very important, and how we can focus on the different SDGs areas rather than specific ones. We have also, and we adopted in Barcelona in May, the roadmap to reinvent higher education and beyond the limits. And part of it is how universities can collaborate and can engage at the global level. And this collaboration is, again, an aspect that the G20 and the directors have mentioned. But I would like to refer to some of these areas that are important for the work of higher education. In particular, the cooperation for excellence is how we can collaborate all together to achieve the leap that we are looking for. It's also the sustainability that we have as universities to engage in the actions for sustainable development. It's ethic and integrity. It's aspect of inclusion and equity and diversity that we are all looking for. Academic freedom that is under threat in many contexts. And last but not least is this critical thinking and creativity that we would like to advance, and that is presented as an important skill for citizens, for learners. And these are things that university can advance and the collaboration can achieve. An instrument that the G20 can leverage that is very important from my point of view, and it's about the mobility of researchers, mobility of students, exchange for advancing knowledge. We have adopted, and you have adopted, the Global Convention on Higher Education, on recognition of higher education qualification and diploma. That's what will allow mobility of students from Mexico to India, from India to Japan. So this is a way to enhance the collaboration, but also facilitate the mobility of learners, facilitate the mobility of researchers. And this instrument is at the disposal of member states. But it can create an ecosystem of exchange among universities, of collaboration for investment. The professor was mentioning earlier how we can share equipment. In some cases, the universities have more resources than in others. And this sharing, this capacity to leverage the potential is an ecosystem that we can create around the Global Convention for the recognition of higher education, qualification, and diploma. So this is a reference that we can leverage for the G20 as well. But there is also the network of the recognition of qualification, the ENIC, NAREC in Europe, the APNIC in Asia, and the AFNIC in Africa, and we will be setting a global network for the recognition of qualification as part of the Global Convention. That will be a platform for recognizing skills, qualifications across borders. But the G20 can be the driving force for this work that we are doing, and many of member states here have already ratified the convention, are part of the convention. Maybe a last instrument that could be also important for the G20 collaboration, for our international collaboration to advance and achieve SDGs, is the Open Science recommendation that was adopted in 2019. The Open Science is about access to open data, is about open research, is about open education resources, it's about sharing, it's about capacity to engage in collaboration. And this is an instrument that could be, again, leveraged to advance the G20 collaboration about the different aspects that the director and professor were referring to. So the Open Science recommendation is the driver for international collaboration and for knowledge sharing that can be used. Maybe looking at what will be next. We have the SDGs, and they are very important. The UN Secretary General convened a summit for the future, or future summit, that will look at how together we can advance our sustainable development agenda. Your reaction regarding the achievement of the 2030 agenda is an indicator that we need to change the path. We need to look at the approaches differently. And the Secretary General has convened the summit to look at different aspects. Among them is how we will collaborate, and the global digital cooperation, for example. The digital cooperation will be an important area that we have to look at. There are other aspects that are important, is how we can internationally respond to complex shocks, be it climate change, be it disasters risks, be it other shocks that we know and that we are facing as humanity. So the Future Summit is a way for us to think how we can advance the SDGs and how we can look at the international cooperation with a new eye, with a new perspective. But it's very important that the G20 and the Indian presidency has put together an attention to the research and innovation, and part of it is the research on digital transformation, the research on innovation and green and just transition. But what is important is what is in the center as well, is women empowerment. We cannot achieve anything if we are not, if we're not empowering women, if we are not about gender equality. The speakers, the keynote speakers are not a good example of that, but the panel, I hope, will be a good example of gender balance and of the collaboration. But it's very important that we take into account those three dimensions, is how we are investing in digital transition, how we're investing in green transition, but how we are also ensuring equal engagement of the citizens. And this is part, and thanks to the G20, the Indian presidency, to highlighting those aspects and highlighting how we can collaborate. But the transitions are impeded by two factors that I wanted to finish with. First of all, the digital transition is impeded by access to broadband. We still have half of the population, of the world population, not accessing to broadband. During the COVID crisis, we had half of the students who had no access to online learning, no access to devices. We cannot advance the technology and the transition without advancing access and without equitable access to the digital technology. For the green, the situation is even worse.